always tell people is to start rough. Just put it out there. It doesn't have to be perfect. It will not be perfect, but put it out there because that's the hardest part. And once it's out there, you can refine, you can pivot, you can make all of those edits. But putting it out there is like, I did it. And go get yourself something. Okay, go to Target or go get you a cupcake or go eat them M&Ms that you've been holding on to. Celebrate that win because that's the scariest part is just putting it out into the world for people to now know like you're doing the thing.
To know and to possibly have opinions about. And that's actually something that I'm still navigating. Like putting something out there and caring about opinions. That's really it gets in the way. Like most people ain't even thinking about you like that. You know what I'm saying? Like just do whatever is on your heart, and whoever is going to support will support. Whoever is going to benefit from it is going to benefit from it, and that is it. I kind of want to pivot and talk about your own personal journey as you now. At first, you were consulting on like you were working for somebody, right? And now you are 100% working for yourself. So you are a full-time entrepreneur too. Do you think that's allowed you to relate and identify with the baddies of business community on a different level now?
Yes. So when I first started in 2018, that's when I started consulting. My first contract was with my former employer. So I contracted with them for 9 months, and 3 months in, they wanted to shift the project that I was working on. And I was like, no. And I had never done consulting before, so I didn't really know this happens. And now I know this happens all the time, actually more often than not. And so after that 9 months, I was like, oh, insurance is expensive and I would rather for someone else to pay for it. So I went back to a 9 to 5, working in the nonprofit sector. And I did that for up until last year. And I was laid off from my job. I knew that layoffs was coming. They had gave us a heads up about 4 months in advance that they were doing some massive layoffs because this was a really big education nonprofit. They told us they were doing some layoffs. And then me, I was a part of that. And the team that I was working with, it was all youth that were on my team. And their contract was ending. So it's like their contract ended. I was laid off. And so as I started to I was looking at jobs, I was thinking about like all the work that I had with my consulting because I still did it when I went back to the nonprofit sector. I still did it on the side. I was like, oh, I'm gonna step in fully. And, I asked my partner, I said, hey boo, you gonna support your girl when she out here, clipping bushes and stuff. I love clipping bushes. But like you gonna support me when I'm out here? you gonna support me when I'm out here, just grinding it out. And he was like, yeah, I support you. I know you do incredible work and the world needs more of you. And I was like, look at you, boo. I'm gonna keep you around. Okay. So all that to say that when I stepped into it, again, like we said, putting out something that's rough and tough, when I stepped into it fully, full time, at this point, it was 5 years later. It was great. Well, great as in like the feeling of now being able to be the person that is responsible for how I'm moving and navigating. Great is general, but when I get down to it, there was a lot of learnings that came out of it. It was, how do I want to move and work? Something I instituted was a no meeting Monday. That didn't mean I didn't create things, but it was just a no meeting Monday so I could focus on, I knew that I needed creative time because a lot of the projects that I'm doing are working with communities. And there's like, if I'm facilitating, I have to create the pitch decks. I have to create the coaching conversations. I have to create all this like content, not content as in social media, but I have to create all of these things to then show up in spaces, or I have to rest to be able to show up in spaces. And so having that no meeting Monday allowed me to, one, test it out and see if it's feasible, but then two, be able to put it out in the world. I think another thing that I had to learn from that first year was insurance was very expensive. So at that time I was on Obamacare, and for the bare minimum, it was like $550. And my copays were still like $75. Let's not talk about like prescriptions and specialty physicians, all of that. And that's what pushed me back into, because I said, I can't afford that. Like, oh yeah, this is, but I can't afford this. And while I want to be my own, but I can't afford it. And so when I thought about stepping back into it, I said, I have to do this in the right way. And so I thought about, I talked to my mama, because, you know, everybody go to mama. I talked to my mama, and I also talked to my partner. I was like, okay, what are the plans that you have? I thought about the plan that I had before when someone else paid for it. And then I compared that to several plans. I also went with like an insurance provider that I trusted. Trusted as in like I'd had it with them before. And so I wanted to use that again. And so I was able to do that and then get a lower price. And so I was like, okay, I feel better, because I think now it's like $300, which people are like, that's probably still expensive. But compared to what I had, I'm able to pay that. And copays, don't have to worry about copays. I do have some for specialty doctors. I have vision, dental, all those things included. Where before I just kind of jumped out and wasn't sure, but I got to prep it. I think about like I start paying myself in the fall. So before I would just get the money, and I didn't commingle it. Never commingling your money. I separated it, but I still could see it. And I'm like, ooh, that's my money because I worked on this thing. You know, granted, I put that 30% aside for taxes, but I still could see the money there. And so this time I put myself on payroll. Gotcha. And did payroll run every week? Nope, because sometimes I ain't have the contracts and I ain't have the money in there. But I still put myself on payroll because I needed to test it out. And how I always move is like, I'm going to test things to then share with the Betty community and say, hey, I tested out QuickBooks. I tested out this no meeting Monday. I tested out this having this creative time. I tested out this thing. Here's the pros and here's the cons. You take what you want to do with it, but here it is. And so I was able to use myself, and even to this day, I still use myself as a case study. And so during like the retreats, I said, hey, this year we're testing out. So this year we tested out having babysitters. We had babysitters there. We had a closing retreat party. We had a party bus that did the shuttles. I hired someone to produce the community bazaar. There was a lot of things that I tested. And so I always use myself as, I am very transparent. If someone's like, Malliron, how much did it cost to put on this event? I will tell them, because I want them to understand that, like, I want you to know this is how I'm doing this, operating as like myself. I don't even get paid in Badger Business. My payment is coming from consulting. I have someone that manages the community that gets paid, because I know I don't need to pay myself now if I can pay my people.